you don't know, I'm a filmmaker, photographer, videographer. I do a lot of commercial work, but I also shoot weddings. And today we're going to talk about whether or not you should shoot weddings, whether or not you are interested in getting into them or not. If you're skeptical, if you're scared, if you're not sure where to start, it's okay. We're going to cover the bases today and we will get you shooting your first wedding in no time. So let's check it out. So weddings. There's a lot of other far more successful photographers and videographers than myself who have really good tutorials and how to shoot, how to charge, how much to charge, all that stuff. And I'll link my favorite below. His name's Eric something. And I sort of just stumbled upon him recently and his stuff is phenomenal. And so you should check him out definitely. But if you're looking at just getting started in the wedding industry, this is something that I sort of over the last few years have recently done, so I can sort of speak into that area. Basically, some people view weddings as sort of the bottom of the totem pole in regards to quality work. You can't sort of get into anything else. You have a fancy camera and you want to shoot stuff, and you can't, haven't been able to break into anything like proper commercial, so you're just sort of doing weddings in the meantime. And I think it's a really unfair categorization of that, in particular, of the wedding industry, because it's actually a really interesting place where you can curate and you can have a lot of freedom in ways, and there's a lot of benefits to shooting, say, a wedding compared to a standard sort of commercial or other type of job. One of the big benefits is your freedom to express your creativity and your style in a way that is unique. And obviously when shooting a branded video, you need to think about how the best way to present that brand and the best way to present that client's expectations for your work. When with a wedding, you've got this complete blank canvas to take sort of the feeling and this couple, the best and most amazing day of their life, and paint your own sort of version of it, and sort of they see the day through another perspective, and you can shoot in the style that you like, and you're not having someone there say, oh, that's no good, don't do that or do this or whatever. So where do you begin? How do you begin? Where do you get started? I shot 24 weddings last year. A bunch of those were photography, a bunch of those were videography. I'm skilled myself in both areas to be able to offer those services to clients, and am finding that has helped me a lot in being able to take on a wedding that I'm providing both services, not myself, but I use other shooters, other skilled shooters, people I trust, people I've trained. That sort of, at the start, gives me the ability to cover more weddings, where I'm able to sort of take on more weddings, I'm able to take on more work, I'm able to oversee and sort of get involved in more projects. So that's from the start. If you can skill yourself in photography and videography, then that's going to help you in the long run as a creative and sort of as a filmmaker. As a photographer, it sort of gives you more options and more opportunity to shoot, especially at the start. If you want to niche into something in the future, definitely go for it. But I encourage you to sort of skill yourself in both areas. I talk to a lot of photographers and they're like, oh, I wish I could shoot video, and I just say start, just do it, because it's an area that's really growing and there's a lot more demand for it. So I shot 24 weddings last year. The year before I shot about 15, and I can do, maybe in another video I'll do all the costing breakdown and all that sort of thing, how much money I actually make shooting weddings, and that's not sort of my core business so much now, but it was in the past. I have sort of branched into more commercial work, but to me, they're not too different. Let me explain. Shooting for a business and shooting a wedding aren't too different in certain terms. In the style and the approach that I have, you're telling a story. That's what we are. We're storytellers, whether it's through imagery or through film, as in video. We're storytellers, and we use imagery to communicate feelings and to communicate branding, and that's sort of what I do with either it's a business shoot. Like I said, tend to be a bit more straightforward and clean cut with your commercial stuff, and a bit more arty with your weddings. But I approach both with a similar mindset and a similar sort of, at least the same diligence, shooting to a high standard, a high quality, and really trying to tell, whether it's a business, tell their story, or whether it's a couple telling their story, and it's a love story. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's sort of my approach to those things. It's easy for me now too to look at other videographers or photographers. Like, I don't know about where you are, but even here in our small town, we've got, you know, like 150,000 people in our region sort of thing, and seems like there's hundreds of photographers. When there's a post in a Facebook group looking for a photographer, like just mountains and mountains, tag after tag after tag of all these different photographers, and most of them aren't full-time professional photographers. A lot of people are just doing it as a hobby, and that's how I started out. I had a professional camera and I decided I wanted to make money from doing it. I enjoyed shooting and I enjoyed doing those things. So weddings definitely shouldn't be seen as, you know, a way that either you're using people or that you're sort of, it's just like this little thing that you do until you get good. No. Weddings are something, there are full-time wedding photographers, filmmakers, I'll call them, because they're shooting super high production, you know, elopements or weddings that people travel for in New Zealand or in the mountaintops or in Alaska or wherever, and they're shooting them on Reds, and they're using, you know, like big commercial drones, and they're doing incredible quality productions. So there is a high-end wedding sort of field, and so there is really no limit in that particular industry of where you can go with your career. It's, as I was saying, it's easy for me to look at other people starting out and all these different people and go, oh my goodness, that's so cringe, some of the work that they're producing or some of the things that they're doing. But remembering that everyone starts somewhere. And only a couple of years ago, I was the new kid here in town wanting to get my start. I shot my first wedding for a friend, and I charged them $300, and I was pretty proud of how it turned out. I had a close friend who is also a photographer, probably one of the best photographers in our region, and he was just like, I didn't want to do weddings. I didn't want to do it because I was nervous. I was like, oh no, someone's going to have these photos on their wall for forever. Their kids, their grandkids are going to look at them, and I was just too scared. It was too much pressure to shoot. And he was like, just do it, just do it. He just sort of gave me the push. He gave me the encouragement. He gave me the confidence that I needed to just, okay, I'm going to do it. And some friends got engaged and they approached me, which was really great. And I didn't know how much to charge, so I just said $300. And it actually turned out pretty great. I almost want to go back now and re-edit those photos just to see how they turn out, because my style has changed quite a lot. But the shooting quality was there. The posing and all that sort of thing was definitely to the standard, to a high standard. Obviously I've gotten better now, but looking back, it's great to be proud of where we came from, where we started. So everyone starts somewhere. I shot my first wedding video for free. So it was just a couple I knew. They were getting married, and it was just a wedding present to them from me and my wife. And that was sort of my first start. And from there, you can then advertise yourself as a wedding videographer, I guess. So you can say, I do weddings, and don't go too crazy with the pricing at the start. Just be really basic and be really sort of honest about where your skill levels are at and what you're charging. And then you're able to say, hey, I do wedding videos, and you've got work to show. That's really the biggest thing, is just getting the first one, and then you have work to show. Your work really will speak for itself and determine how whether people like your style or not. On that point, there is in any city obviously a lot of different choices when it comes to photographers and videographers. And even here in my studio, I sit next to another photographer, and people ask me all the time, whoa, how does that work? Are you like in competition with one another? Well, not really, because there's actually enough work around for everyone. And people are going to come to me for my style and my look. Don't be afraid of other photographers and other filmmakers. Learn everything you can from them, and trust that people are going to come to you for your style. I will make another whole video on that. Basically, that's my advice. Get a start, shoot your first one, be true to yourself, don't copy, don't try to be a particular thing. Shoot the way you want to shoot, and your work will come in. So that's sort of my advice if you're wanting to start in weddings, just to do it. Find someone who's engaged. Search hashtag engagement on Instagram if you need to, if they're a complete stranger. No one's going to turn away a free wedding video. If you have any questions about shooting weddings, about getting started in the industry that I haven't covered here, please drop a comment below. I didn't necessarily expect this video to be this long, but I guess there's a lot to talk about in it and getting started. And a lot of things cross over, not only from weddings, but also into sort of the commercial scene and shooting for businesses and things like that as well. So if you like this video, please subscribe for more similar content, and we'll see you guys next Friday.